Now we begin in Benue State, where President Bola Tinubu on Wednesday visited Benue State on a condolence tour following a killing spree across various farming communities by armed herders, in which scores were killed over the weekend with hundreds rendered homeless. Addressing a gathering of stakeholders including several governors, traditional rulers and religious leaders, the president regretted his inability to visit the worst-hit town of Yelewata, which he blamed on bad roads compounded by rainfall. He spoke on steps the federal government aims to take to ensure that attacks leading to sort of bloodletting Benue State witnessed in the past few days is put to an end.
I apported my visit to Yelewa because of the rain, floods, and bad roads. This is not the kind of visit I wanted. I wanted to be here to commission projects, felicitate for progress and development, for reassurance of hope and prosperity. I've faced these same challenges before in Lagos. We have to find solutions to this. What's the cause of the conflict? I had some touchy Jesus about land grabbing. But if we learn how to share and how to accommodate, we have enough land to feed, to raise our children, to cultivate happiness and prosperity. We must do it. Not everybody will like you in politics. They hate me like hell too. Well, I'm here. I have the president. Another democratic regime. I made a promise. I even protected my abusers and accusers with the principle of democracy, freedom, and prosperity. I will protect them.
Now, for more on the president's visit, our correspondent Joshua Imaraye is in Makurdi, and he joins us live now. Joshua, you're welcome. Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us. Joshua, you've seen the visit of the president, although to Makurdi and not Yelewata, where we had the instances of attack. Well, what's the update on the ground in Benue State now, generally regarding the attacks and the president's visit?
Well, good evening to you, Monsignor. The president's visit was welcomed by residents here in Benue State. And one thing that stood out in the speech of the president was the constitution of the committee, particularly of stakeholders in the state, that is former governors as well as former governors of Nasarawa State. The president mandated that they should form a committee to resolving this particular crisis that has been destroying part of the state here. So we are expecting that such committee will be formed, and they will swoop in and maybe create a solution, a lasting solution to this particular issue that has been affecting parts of Benue State.
Joshua, the president spoke about taking the tragedy and changing it, instead making it prosperity. Were there any details as to how he intends to do this?
Well, the president did not actually outline strategic steps to implement this changing of the disastrous situation into a prosperous one. But what we are expecting is that out of those promises will come real action that will match those promises and to ensure that the prosperity is saying actually delivered. Because he for himself confirmed that the road to Yelewata is bad and he couldn't access that community. It shows a decline, a decline in the nature and the structure of those roads, and they really need attention particularly. So we are hoping that the president, seeing these issues affecting the part of this region of the country, I believe that he will put in plans to ensure that most of those roads that are bad are fixed and where needs attention are visited. So we are expecting the president to swoop in and maybe to allocate our resources to meet the needs of those people.
Okay, one last question here, Imaraye. The president was in Makurdi. He wasn't in Yelwata. Now, I heard you earlier while we were on the 3 p.m. news speak with residents or people who were there in Makurdi, and they expressed their views. However, have you been able to test the pulse of people in Yelwata where the tragedy happened itself?
Well, unfortunately, we've not been able to access Yelwata because of the flood situation, particularly in the road leading to that community. The road has been bad because of the rain. It rained heavily from the early hours of today down to the moment that the president even came into town. So what we are seeing is that most of the road leading to that community have not been able to be accessed because of the weather condition and the flood water taking over those places. So basically, for the purpose of the people here in the Benue State capital, that is Makurdi, they are expectant that those words that the president spoke will be translated into real-life action, and particularly the herdsmen, the alleged herdsmen situation will be curbed, and arrests will be made, and those who are the perpetrators will be brought to book.
Well, Joshua Imaraye, thank you very much for bringing us details from Benue State. Thank you. Now, in the meantime, Nigerians are questioning the government's priorities, wondering why it seems to exhibit selective urgency in its response to crisis. This is in the wake of fresh attacks in Benue State, which has claimed over 200 lives and caused severe damage to properties. New Central's Igbalaniyi Omoniyi has more in this report.
They died in this house.
Michael urges a deal of 16th of June, when over 20 members of his family were brutally killed, is one of many other people's experience in one of the Benue attacks that have been plaguing the state for months. The pain is still fresh and the wound is yet to heal. What hurts more is the perceived indifference of the government, which many Nigerians feel were slow to react to the crisis despite the mounting death toll and displacement.
Honestly, the government has been paying undue attention to political issues. They've neglected security, they've neglected economy. That's the truth.
The Inspector General of Police, the Army and Governor of Benue State eventually visited the affected areas.
We now have an increased presence of different teams and squads.
Hundreds of incidents have been prevented that are not known to the public. So that this happened does not mean that we have not been deploying.
From now, I'll be going to see my commanders and we have to change our strategy.
But their body language and comments were met with skepticism.
That campaign they can't do. What is talking? I said, the man when they come, waiting they come to do. Now my question, how they waiting to come to do? The purpose of coming.
Critics argue that if the government can move swiftly to address political crises such as the recent state of emergency in Rivers State, why does it seem so slow to respond to matters that directly affect people's lives, like insecurity and economic challenges? With the president's visit to Benue State and the controversy around the preparations being made by the Benue governor to receive him, many believe that the government's actions suggest that political survivors take precedence over the welfare and security of its citizens.
We have a state governor, we have a national security advisor, we have a chief, so we have a DSS who are able to go undercover. So what are they doing with the security reports? We can say it's a total failure of state, of governance, of our security agencies. And we're insisting as citizens who have given you this mandate to lead us, that you do your job, security agencies, and President Bola Tinubu, you're the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Please kill this politicking for now. Let us first be alive.
Ultimately, advocates suggest that the government needs to re-evaluate its priorities and ensure that the need of its citizens takes center stage. By doing so, it can rebuild trust and demonstrate its commitment to serving the people rather than just its own political interests. The likes of Michael Ojo, and countless others deserve nothing less. In Lagos, 4 News Central, Igbalaniyi Omoniyi.
Now, Public Affairs Analyst Jide Ojo joins us now to discuss the development in Benue State. Mr. Ojo, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Mr. Jide, I have just 5 minutes, so I'm going to ask you to be summary in your responses here. But let's start by asking what you think President Tinubu's visit to Benue signifies.
Well, what it signifies basically is empathy. It signifies humanity. It signifies governance. When tragedy struck, particularly of this magnitude, it's not sufficient to just send your national security advisor, or you send your chief of defense staff, or chief of admin staff, or inspector general of police. After all, when the president was looking for both, he went to campaign in all the nooks and crannies of the country, including Benue. And incidentally, Benue State is governed by an APC governor. So it's part of the APC family. And this is APC family that's bereaved. And the president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Even you recall that Section 14, subsection 2B of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has placed the burden of welfare and security of citizens on the shoulders of the governors and the presidents, the leaders. It says security and welfare of citizens shall be the primary purpose of government. So the president, as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, owes a duty to show empathy. The last time that of Plateau happened, he was out of the country. And it was National Security Advisor and the IG and the Chief of Defense Staff that went. And people are calling him out now that you can't just be celebrating 2 years of being at the ends of affairs when your countrymen are being slaughtered like Salara. It's so unfortunate that this whole crisis has gone on for over 2 decades. From what I learned, about 25 years, dated back to 25 years, where massacre of this magnitude have been going on repeatedly, not only in Yawata, but in Agatu, in Gwa East, Gwa West, in Vadeka, in other parts of the Benue State. And until when you start breaking the culture of impunity, when we start getting arrested, I listened to your correspondent when he said that he hopes the arrest of the perpetrators of the heinous crimes will be made and that they will be brought to justice. Okay. It's this kind of thing where we just lament and then we move on.
Mr. Ojo.
Heinous criminals continue to do what they are doing.
Now, Mr. Ojo, I've got other questions here. Sorry to butt in there. So given that security is actually on the legislative or executive legislative list, how can state governments like Benue be empowered constitutionally or maybe even administratively to respond to such security threats more effectively?
I didn't quite get that.
So I'm talking about security being on the exclusive list. I'm asking how state governments like Benue State can be empowered to respond to such security threats like they've just witnessed effectively.
Well, it's true that security is on the exclusive legislative list. Don't forget that it was argued by late Arakuni Rotimi Akeredolu, the former governor of Ondo State, that yes, it might be on the exclusive list, but the Constitution has also placed the burden of security of the state on the governor, and they have to perform that security, which is why many states have gone ahead to establish vigilantes, and that's inclusive of Benue State. Unfortunately, the funding of these vigilante groups has not been very significant, which is why their impact is not being felt. Recall that it was because of the intervention of the Southern Governors Forum, and then that we have the Amotekun Corps in the 6 southwest states of Oyo, Ogun, Lagos, Ondo, and Ekiti. And you can see how the Amotekun Corps has been able to complement that of police and the armed forces. And that's what the former governor of Benue State, Samuel Ortom, tried to do by establishing a vigilante group and also passing anti-grazing law. But the truth of the matter is that while some of the perpetrator of this crime will be S-men, there are also those who believe that it's all about land grabbing for artisanal mining of the solid mineral in some of these communities. That it's not just about looking for grazing routes or where to graze cattle, that they also have done that some of this can be hinged on those who want to forcefully take land in order to mine the solid minerals in those environments. So, by and large, it's all about the political economy of security and insecurity. So
all right, then, Mr. Jide Ojo. Sorry, like I said from before, I've only got 5 minutes for this session here, but thank you very much for giving us your evening and your input on the situation in Benue State. Thank you. Now let's go on a break, and when we come back, News Central holds talks with Police Commissioner in Borno ahead of the Town Hall series. We'll bring you the details after the break. Do stay with us. You're welcome back. Now, the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Ibadan, Professor Kayode Adebowale, has said Nigeria is ripe for a national policy on artificial intelligence. He warned that the country could no longer afford to be identified, or rather indifferent, to global developments in AI, noting that failure to act swiftly may leave Nigeria lagging behind. Adebowale made this known at the biennial scientific conference of the College of Natural and Applied Sciences, Achievers University, Owo, Ondo State. According to him, while AI holds vast potential, it must always be subject to human oversight to prevent unintended consequences. Thus, to help us make sense of this, we are joined by ICT specialist Temitayo Agemo Okuboejo. You're welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Now, what ICT infrastructure upgrades are critical for scalable AI development in Nigeria?
So to begin with, I think we're putting the cart before the horse, because where we really need to be starting this conversation is what the national strategy is as regards AI. Like, what does the Nigerian government, or shall I say, the Nigerian government and the people of Nigeria, what do they intend to use AI for, and how, and over what period, what kind of infrastructure do they need in order to achieve this set of goals? What are the sub-objectives that will underpin or underline those goals? And that, as far as I am aware, is not has not been developed. In fact, I looked around two specific government agencies that I expected would provide this information. On those two websites, or on the website of those two agencies, information there is pretty nondescript in that it tells you nothing. And those two agencies are the Federal Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy. There is like a few paragraphs published on what the national strategy is supposed to be. This was published on the 31st of August, 2023, so almost 2 years old. After that, nothing has been done. There's no white paper, there's no direction, there's no strategies, there's nothing like that. Similarly for NIDA, it's the same. So without a national strategy in place, where the government provide the strategic direction to get experts together to develop what the world have done this. And we're yet to do this in Nigeria. And until we do that, then we are certainly putting the cart before the horse if we start talking about policy or infrastructure for that matter. So summarily, we have to be able to say that this is the Nigeria strategy, or this is the strategy of the people and government of Nigeria for artificial intelligence. And at the moment, that's absent.
Very interesting way to look at it. So from what I gather, we don't really have that direction you are saying as a government for AI and its use here in Nigeria. But how should Nigeria address, when it comes to governance now, data governance and also privacy concerns that we have always raised regarding AI and the framework, even if you still say that we need to have a direction? But when we do get that direction, how do we address security concerns?
So the government has two roles to play. First off, as I said before, it needs to develop the strategy. It needs to decide how it intends to, or what goals or objectives it wishes to accomplish with AI. And then having defined that, it then needs to come up with a set of regulations. And those regulations would determine what the legal framework would be. And it's on the basis of those two, shall I call it, two legs, that both the private sector and government bodies will then develop their own set of policies. So you need to be thinking about it this way. A policy is very limiting in the way that it is implemented, because the idea is it tells you the limits of the adoption of a particular technology. And it is policy that then tells people, or that then tells the sector players, the things that they have to do. So i.e. legal requirements, things that are a must, things that they have to do. Then they also provide the, what you would call the foundation principles, maybe even guidance, which other organizations would then use to develop their own set of in-house policies. So until you have strategy and regulation put together by the government, those two, no other body can do it other than the government. And until those two are in place, it's pretty much a free play. Everybody can do what they want, and it doesn't matter what kind of policy anyone develops at the moment. When you get to implementation, because there are no compliance rules around those policies, you pretty much can do what you want. Basically, your policies become inconsequential.
Temitayo, I suspect that there's a bigger conversation here to be had, and unfortunately, we don't have the time here for this bulletin to have that, so I will be inviting you over to another show, perhaps during the weekend, where we can have that robust conversation, and I'm hoping that you'd say yes to it.
I will be available, yes.
Thank you very much, then. We'll see to that. Now, moving on. The editor-in-chief of News Central TV, Kayode Akintemi, has appealed to the Benue State Police Commissioner, Naziru Abdul-Majid, to do all it takes to return peace to the troubled region. Speaking on Wednesday during a courtesy visit to the police command in preparation for its town hall series conversation Thursday, Kayode Akintemi said the police hierarchy has an enormous role to play in bringing smiles to the faces of Borno residents once again. News Central's Victor Mbadike here has more.
The Northeast has had its fair share of economic instability in recent years, owing to the devastating impact of the activities of insurgents, armed conflicts, and bandits. Some of these people and victims who have been greatly affected by these crises have ultimately lost their sources of livelihood, leading to a lack of hope and disappointment in those who lead them. The managing director of News Central TV, Kayode Akintemi, alongside other senior members of the organization, paid a courtesy call to the Benue State Police Command on Wednesday to seek possible solutions to the crisis and help the people get back on their feet.
We are here first to get to speak with you and to let you know that we are in your city, and secondly, to officially invite you to our town hall meeting where all the people of Benue State will be converging either physically or virtually by watching us online and on TV and so on. Because I believe that anybody that has anything to do with Benue State has something to do with Nigeria. And if you do, I guess everybody is wishing you well as the chief law enforcement officer in this state.
The State Commissioner of Police, who was grateful for the gesture, says he will do all he can to help the people in their search for peace for such a long time.
I'm here in Benue State to change the narratives, especially in policing. My own is intelligence-led policing. In other words, intelligence gathering will be given most priority. Another thing, security is a collective responsibility. Everybody is a stakeholder. The community, the religious leaders, especially the press, they are stakeholders. But with this, my coming here, I'm sure the people of the Benue State and the general public that the narrative will be changed.
The new Central TV team is set to host the Borno community on its town hall series to open up conversation on the issues and find possible solutions to several insecurity problems in the state. In Lagos for New Central TV, Victor Mbadike.
Let's take a short break, and when we come back, we've got more news inside the 6 o'clock hour. Welcome back now. The political climate in Warri Federal Constituency, Delta State, remains tense following a Supreme Court order to INEC to carry out fresh ward delineation. An Isoko youth group is now demanding an outright cancellation of the exercise, warning that it could reignite long-dormant ethnic conflicts in the area. New Central's Austin Azu here has the latest.
The Supreme Court's recent ruling ordering a fresh ward delineation in Warri Federal Constituency has reopened old wounds among the region's major ethnic groups, the Shekiris, Urhobos, and Ijos. INEC's announcement of its intent to implement the ruling has also triggered protests both within and beyond Delta states. In response, Delta State Governor Sheriff Uberewori has urged residents of Warri Federal Constituency to exercise restraints in their comments over INEC's controversial ward and unit delineation reports.
I appeal to all of you to be guided in your utterances. Show any actions made undermine the peace and security of the state.
These so-called political youth leaders of thought are here to lend their voices to the yet-to-be-implemented ward delineation in Warri.
Stress the need for cancellation of INEC delineation exercise in Delta South Senatorial District and urgent call for peace and balance in Delta Senatorial District. Gentlemen of the press, today's media interaction is to draw the attention of the Nigerian public and the Independent National Electoral Commission, the presidency as well of the Office of the National Security Advisor, to recent happenings in Warri Metropolis and how it relates to the development of the Niger Delta region. The ward delineation exercise in Warri Metropolis has taken a turn that, if not suspended or better managed by the federal government, may result to the breakdown of law or sense of peace that has prevailed over the region for some decades now.
They allege that the proposed changes are being pushed by political actors seeking to undermine existing ethnic power-sharing arrangements. The group warns that the Isoko people could be the biggest losers under the current proposal.
We see the current political maneuverings as aimed at elevating one ethnic over the another, particularly to gain numerical and strategic advantage ahead of the 2031 elections, when the governorship seat of the Delta State would have been taken to the Delta South Senatorial District. We see these moves as attempts to weaken political positions of the Ishakiri bloc, thereby isolating them politically and diminishing their voice in key decisions that affect the region.
As the disagreement deepens, so too do fears of renewed unrest in Warri and its environs. Stakeholders are urging the Delta State government and federal authorities to act swiftly to prevent a deterioration of peace and security in the area. In Delta, for News Central, Austin, Azu.
Minister of Works David Umahi has terminated a contract with Levant Construction Company for the reconstruction of Section 1 Benin Imasabo of the Benin-Sapele-Warri Road over non-performance. The road is being executed under the Road Infrastructure Development and Refurbishment Investment Tax Credit Scheme. Umahi said he had earlier expressed disapproval over the failure of the firm to live up to their contractual duties. But happiness with the discussion he had with two other contractors working on other sections of the project, as they have agreed to redo their efforts or redouble their efforts.
We have the Levant section. Unfortunately, Levant has not lived up to expectation. And we even had to intervene and beg the governor of Edo State to please get the worst sections of that route. We divided the worst sections into two and said Levant concentrate on this section, while the governor of Edo State intervened. I think it's about 23 kilometers for 35 billion. And that section the governor of Edo State intervened is ongoing on very well. But Levant has since left sight. We gave them series of warning letters. We also gave them the last termination notice. And when a termination notice is given to you, it is for you within 14 days to go back to site and begin to do those things you were not doing. This time is for them to remobilize to site and for them to work. But they did not respond, but they wrote us a letter. We invited them for a discussion today. And today is the end of 14 days termination notice, and they refused to attend the meeting. I'm directing the PS to please invoke the APG, get the job properly terminated tomorrow, write them for joint measurement, write to the bank to request for repayment of the APG. That should happen, and if they don't pay, then we have to take the matter to EFCC.
Now to education. Educationists in Nigeria have called on the government and private sector to make the teaching profession attractive to youth by investing tremendously in teachers. They made this known at a teachers' summit held in Lagos to address some of the problems faced by the country's education sector. News Central's correspondent Omolola Ololade here tells us more.
Hands forward, stretch. Teachers play a crucial role in national development. They shape future generations and contribute to the country's social, economic, and political growth. In spite of this, teaching remains one of the least regarded professions in the country, according to experts. With overcrowded classrooms and overworked teachers, the student-to-teacher ratio continues to hinder effective learning. Against this backdrop, educationists at the Teachers' Summit in Lagos call on government to invest and add value to the profession.
We bring young, bright minds back into education. It shouldn't be a course after you have failed every other thing, go and teach. It should be a matter of course. And we want to appeal to government. Let us use our NYC as the initial pool.
Besides improving on teachers' remuneration and training, educationists say overhauling the school's curriculum to improve learning remains vital for the country's education system.
We do have to overhaul our curriculum, but it's not the subjects. All these skills that we need to integrate are not necessarily subjects. Like when you talk about teamwork, collaboration, it's the way you teach, it's the way you say they should work together in teams, and so that will teach the skill of working in teams. And when you talk about AI, we've got to accept that it's here to stay and to find out how best it can work for education.
Government, first of all, has to have a policy that elevates our teachers. We have to give them the kind of salary that would be attractive and attract all those who left teaching and brought it back. Third, at the university level, we should not take anybody for teaching that has less than a 2-1.
By recognizing the importance of teachers and addressing the profession's challenges, experts say the country can harness the full potential of its education system to drive national development. In Lagos for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
The Minister of State for Education, Suwaiba Ahmad, recently met with education commissioners from 12 pilot states leading the Lumina 2030 initiative. The initiative's name stands for Learning, Uniting, Modernizing, Innovating, Nurturing, Accelerating, and Harmonizing. This national program aims to improve the lives of over 1 million undeserved girls and women by 2030 through education and empowerment. Ahmad described Lumina 2030 as a movement to end exclusion, poverty, and silence among Nigerian girls and women.
Lumina is not just another government program. It is a national movement to dismantle exclusion, poverty, and silence, barriers that have denied girls their rights to learn and thrive. We have an underlying assumption. Our underlying assumption is if a mother is economically viable, if a mother is stable, she will ensure that her girl child, not only the girl child, most of the initiative that we bring on board targeting girls, at the end, everybody in the family will benefit from that initiative.
It is designed to embody our own collective ambition to build a future where no woman or girl is left behind, and where every community, rural and urban alike, have equal opportunity to thrive. Most importantly, this forum is an opportunity to listen to your various perspectives, understand constitutional challenges, and co-create solutions that are responsive, social, and impactful.
We aim to train them by equipping women with foundational literacy and skills to create sustainable livelihood. How do we aim to do that? Is through ensuring that we look at a critical production phase and what each of the state has in terms of education and also some skills that we have.
Welcome back. Now, no fewer than 60 migrants have feared dead after a pair of shipwrecks off the coast of Libya over the past week. Data from the International Organization for Migration says the first ship went down on June 12th near a Libyan port in Tripoli, with 21 people, including women and children, reported missing and only 5 survivors found. Those lost at sea include Eritrean, Pakistani, Egyptian, and Sudanese nationals. The second wreck took place about 35 kilometers off the port of Tobruk, with the sole survivor reporting 39 people lost at sea. According to the statement, at least 743 people have died so far this year trying to cross the Mediterranean to Europe. World Wrap now. Israel has launched new attacks across Tehran near to where Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is hiding in an underground bunker. The Israeli Air Force has attacked several targets in the Iranian capital and has destroyed Iran's internal security headquarters. Many blasts were heard in Lavizan, a northeastern neighborhood in Tehran where Khamenei was moved to on Friday after Israel launched its first airstrikes against Iran. Earlier today, Khamenei said in a televised address that Iran would never surrender after U.S. President Donald Trump demanded an unconditional exit from the conflict, now in its 6th day. Meanwhile, Russia warned the United States against even thinking about supporting Israel's bombing campaign. Now, sports. Team Nigeria para-athletes have impressed at the ongoing World Para-Athletics Grand Prix in Tunis, Tunisia, winning a total of 50 medals by day 2 of the competition. The team has so far secured 10 gold, 3 silver and 2 bronze medals. President of the Paralympic Committee, Nigeria, Sunday Odebode, praised the athletes for their outstanding performance and expressed optimism that more medals would follow. He also commended the National Sports Commission for sponsoring the team, noting that their support is yielding results as Nigerian athletes continue to shine on the global stage. The competition continues with hopes high for more podium finishes for Team Nigeria. Barcelona has signed 24-year-old goalkeeper Juan Garcia from city rivals Espanyol after activating his €25 million release clause. The Spanish shortstopper will officially join the La Liga champions on Friday, signing a 6-year deal. Garcia was reported on the radar of Arsenal and Manchester United but chose to stay in Spain. He made 67 appearances for Espanyol, helping them secure promotion in 2023 and survival in La Liga last season, leading the league with 146 saves. Though uncapped at senior level, he won Olympic gold with Spain in Paris. Garcia is expected to compete with Marc-André ter Stegen, who missed most of last season through injury, as Barcelona look to reinforce their goalkeeping options. Now that's all the news this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories brought your way. President Tinubu has met key stakeholders in Benue State, discussed ways to end persistent violence. And Isoko youths have demanded the cancellation of Warri Ward delineation exercise. And we also told you that no fewer than 60 migrants are feared dead after a pair of shipwrecks off the coast of Libya. Remember, you may send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number on your screens now. And do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times 274, Able TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.